Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, depending on what times they're in. How is everyone doing?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't meet last week. Was pretty tied up on, the regular, my daily job. So couldn't host a session last week, but glad to be back here. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about some new things that I've seen. There are a couple of reports, institution reports that I saw came out. Maybe there's an interest, we can talk about that. Seems pretty interesting to me. What else we want to talk about?
I got a question, Vivek.
Sure.
Do you know during the late 90s, the Russian economy, it fell apart after the Great East Asian financial crisis? Do you know any of this stuff?
There was whole crisis around the ruble when the erstwhile USSR was broken up into the individual countries as we know now. And that's when the old superpower, but that was like in late 1980s or early 1990s, late 80s.
It fell apart in 89 or 90.
Yes, yeah, around that time. I would say it was probably around 88 or something. Mikhail Gorbachev used to be the premier for the USSR. That's at that point of a time, it used to be called as USSR, United Soviet Socialist Republics, or Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. I can't recall what exactly was that, but yeah, I remember, growing up studying about USSR, and then it fell apart. Got broken into multiple countries that we now know today, like Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Crimea, Kyrgyzstan. All those were part of the overall republic. And out of that, one big country is Russia, that's what we call Russia now. So at that point of a time, USSR and USA were two superpowers. After USSR got broken into smaller ones, there was only one superpower remained, which is, since then it's been USA. And yes, there were a lot of economic problems in terms of the devaluation of Russian currency, ruble. It almost became worthless. I mean, to get a loaf of bread, you'll need some hundreds of rubles. So yeah, I do recall those days. But what's so what was it? Next question. It was I was assuming that this was a leading question.
Oh, hold on. No. And then there was this Harvard super economist that screwed up the economy with his I forgot his name. He was a super economist because I think he saved the Latin American economies, but he screwed up on Russia. And then excuse me, Robert Rubin, Greenspan, and Larry Summers bailed out the ruble or something like that, saved the Russian economy, according to the American narrative.
I don't know about from the narrative perspective, what exactly happened.
Okay, I just wanted to see what you knew. That's all right.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at what's happening in the US at that point of a time, so that predates my stay in US. Anyway, so today my idea was maybe to go through some of the reports. I came across a couple of reports, mostly from institutions. That's what I'm mostly interested in, to see what institutions are doing in this particular economy, the crypto economy. So my idea was maybe we could, if it works out for all, maybe we could actually go through a couple of reports and look at some news or what's happening in this world right now. I know last week was little bullish in terms of the token prices, but looks like today is not a good day. I see red sprayed all over the canvas. I don't know what has happened today. It could be because of the geopolitical issues that we are seeing. Russia's gonna attack Ukraine, not gonna attack it. It will attack on Sunday. Maybe it won't do it on Thursday. Who knows? So there's been continuously on and off narrative around what's going to happen at a geopolitical level. Maybe today the narrative is, oh, eventually there's going to be an impending attack. I don't know. I haven't been able to catch up on what has happened in the market. Generally, I'll spend some time later in the evening. But it could be that narrative. If anyone else wants to chime in, please do so. But it looks like today, even the overall markets, not just the crypto, even the regular market has been not in a good shape at all. There's a lot more reds that we see, not just on the tech side, which is almost down 3%, but even on a diversified S&P 500. So something has definitely spooked the markets today. It may not be just Fed reducing the balance sheet or increasing the interest rates, because that's been already accounted for multiple times. But I guess it might be because of maybe some worries about war. Is that the maybe? Who knows? Things happen on day-to-day basis. And I really don't worry too much about why it is down today. It's been a topsy-turvy ride for a few weeks now. Anyway, so that the weakness in the regular stock market could have also crept into the crypto one. Eventually, I think even today, as of today, crypto is still considered as a risk on asset. So if there's worries around warmongering fears going around, so people may want to move on to the risk of stay in cash, maybe hold some gold. Bitcoin hasn't proven itself yet to be a digital gold in the eyes of investors, and raise some cash, increase your cash levels. And when you want to do that, you sell your risky assets, you sell your stocks on which you didn't have a convictions, or from a valuation perspective, highly valued stocks, overvalued stocks, or you sell other assets. So maybe it's a crypto. So yeah. So that's what from at least looking back today, it's almost, Bitcoin is down almost 6.5%, 7%. If you look at a coin market cap, yeah, surprised to see XRP back up to this. I don't know what's happened. Maybe is there an SEC settlement happening on with XRP? But yeah, pretty much it's a red.
They were talking about Ripple yesterday.
Sorry?
They were talking about XRP and Ripple yesterday. I'm sorry, I can't remember what they were talking about. But it's gonna get accepted for something. They were talking yesterday. In yesterday's crypto meeting.
Okay, so I don't know which one is the yesterday's, but so XRP have had the major issues with the SEC. They are already facing a lawsuit from SEC around whether it is a security. SEC claims it's a security. I don't know how strong case they may have, but this case has been lingering around for almost more than 2 years. But if indeed XRP wins this case, which maybe that's where the news probably seem to be going. That will definitely work out good for the XRP as a token if Ripple wins this case. And looks like that's where somewhere there's some news happen on 8th, and that's where the Ripple is going higher. Because if you really look at today, the token of Ripple XRP is not available on any of the US regulated exchanges. You can't buy Ripple or sell Ripple on Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken. Right? So it's been shunned out of these US exchanges. So, but if Ripple actually wins the case against SEC, then XRP will be back on all these exchanges. That means a lot of it's basically available for a lot of investors to buy, and then it will also open up the gates for institutional investors who wants to get exposure to XRP, but haven't done so till now because of fear of SEC. So this is a development on watch for almost more than 2 years, but we'll see in terms of what eventually happens. So that could be a reason why Ripple is actually not that down. I mean, I've seen worse days on XRP than what's today. Same thing around Cardano, Solana. So between Cardano, Solana, and Avalanche, I think the leaderboard keeps shifting. Sometimes we'll say Solana valued higher than Cardano, and now the places are switched. Again, I think overall, yeah, it has nothing to do with an individual project right now. Looks like it's all the overall market is jittery. People wants to take some risk off their books, of their accounts, and it always happens when when it starts to rain. Then suddenly they'll start to pour. If folks haven't had good cash on the side or good reserves on the side, or if investors were heavily leveraged, and then the bet starts to go against you, sell everything. Same story. Not only this, but not only on crypto, but exactly similar story on the stock side. But during these crisis times are where you find the best bargains. So if you have been waiting to open any positions, be greedy when others are fearful. Many of these projects are way off, like 50% down than their recent all-time highs. What else I see a comment saying SoFi can buy XRP. I don't know. I mean, SoFi buying XRP seems to be because they could buy a Ripple, but Ripple's main use case is around cross-border payments, which is what Ripple has been mostly focused on. And they have been working with various other countries in facilitating all, apart from cross-border payments, for which Ripple works with either banks or the money transfer companies. Ripple also work with some of the countries in working with their CBDC strategies. It's not only Ripple, even I've heard of some other like Tron, etc. But how far that will go, how successful that would be, only time will tell. So, but there's a big block on XRP is their SEC lawsuit, and we never know which direction the lawsuit could take and how it will go. So based on right now, it's being traded based on news. If traders think that the lawsuit would result in a favorable judgment for Ripple, XRP goes to moon. If not, it'll come back to earth, and that's what it is happening right now. All right, a few other things that came across my radar. At least this week, I saw a couple of big banks, the traditional banks, really start to talk a lot more around Bitcoin and its value for in any portfolio. Right? So Deutsche Bank came with saying how they see Bitcoin as a 21st century gold. There is another report which is definitely I don't want to go through that in this meeting unless there are other questions or we want to talk about anything else, which is from Fidelity, which talks about it's from Fidelity Digital Asset Management. I think you have that down below. Yeah, Bitcoin is digital gold, and their proposal around what they see as on Bitcoin. And then we also saw that Fidelity actually launched a spot Bitcoin based ETF in Europe. And this gives me heartburns every time I see US institutions going ahead and launching spot Bitcoin based investment products outside of US. Unfortunately, we are still, our hands are still tied by SEC, and they haven't allowed anything based on spot Bitcoin, which come on, which I am still not sure why SEC is not allowing it. We have allowed ETF based on Bitcoin future, which did kind of derive some of its price from a spot as well. And why not based on spot Bitcoin? So Fidelity already have an application with SEC, but anyway, they went and launched in Europe. They launched should be physical. It actually should be called a spot Bitcoin, but there's no physical Bitcoin. It's only exists in computers. But Fidelity launched. It entered into crypto space in Europe. So European investors, those who want to get exposure to Bitcoin, are in a better shape than US-based investors. And Fidelity is not the only one. There are others, other exchange traded products which are already existing in Europe. There are many other products which are available. And also in Canada, we have an ETF. So I think we still got a long wait before SEC becomes comfortable in having an exchange traded product listed in US. We thought maybe it would be 2021. Didn't turn out that way. Let's see what happens in 2022. The most recent, I think the upcoming application, which is coming up for review, for re-review, will be the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust conversion to ETF. And SEC had actually requested for public comments on it. It'll be good to see some of those comments. Some of them could be interesting as well. So there is an application from NYSC's ARCA to convert the GBTC, which is a trust. It's not an ETF, but it's a Bitcoin-based trust. But because it's a trust, it's not really efficient. It's got a more, I would say it's more expensive for any investors to buy, and it really doesn't mimic the price of Bitcoin in real time. Right? So sometimes it trades at discount, sometimes it trades at premium. So if anyone wants to invest or take exposure to Bitcoin, this is not the best instrument. Neither are the ETFs which are based on Bitcoin futures. So there's an application pending with SEC to convert GBTC to ETF. And looks like right now the window is open for public to comment, provide their comments on this ETF, on this application. So I just pulled up this page. There are tons of comments around this. So maybe let's pick up and see what public has to say. Any name that stands out? Let's see what the commercial airline pilot has to say about it. I want to say something which is outside, of this wealth advisory or investment firm. There are obviously wealth advisors, and those are in this blockchain industry. They have their own reasons why would they want to promote. But let's see what this commercial airline pilot has to say. ETF should be approved. Let people decide if they want to invest in technology. They shouldn't be decided by the SEC. There's a plethora of volatile investment vehicles open to public. I completely agree. We are stocks which are even more volatile. The AMCs, GMEs of the world. And recently we saw SEC opening another investigation into the short trading or shorting practices of hedge funds. Now they're suspecting maybe some of these prime brokerage firms could have alerted their hedge fund clients before doing block trades. So the risk of manipulation, the volatility exists in our regular stock market as well. So, okay. Any specific one you want us to pick up? There are a lot of them which are anonymous. Gunderson Holdings, Chief Legal Officer, Coinbase. What does they have to say? Because Coinbase kind of becomes a competitor. Yeah. Oh, it's the same letter. Okay, so I have that. We'll get through this later. Let me just see any other comment. Any teachers? Software launch system engineer. So should approve. However, Grayscale with GBTC is better positioned than anyone else. Okay. No funny comments out here. Let's see what the lawyers have to say. Falling behind digital asset innovation and investment by failing to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. Blah, blah, blah. I want to see some comments which are against this. Okay, someone in support for allowing. Okay, with the Bitcoin futures ETF already approved, doesn't make sense not to allow a pure spot based. That's my question as well. Maybe I should do my part and provide a comment. I'll take a note to add a comment over there. IT professionals, professional engineers, civil engineer. Okay, support. Maybe trying to find out anything against. Okay, no. Anyway, maybe a little more, maybe someone anonymous or because they are against. It's a crime you're protecting Wall Street traders by approving a futures ETF that guarantees mainstream investors will underperform. Okay. Regular folks own GBTC because this is the only way to get exposure, and SEC is causing these investors significant harm. Who are you protecting? Who are you serving? Approve the conversion. I am not an accredited investor. I work long hours. I pay taxes. I pay my mortgage. I contribute positively to my community. I dollar cost average into my investments, hoping that one day I can pursue my passions without financial stress. And that seems to be our story. But anyway, yeah, so maybe if I dig further down, probably there could be someone who could be against it as well. So, but the most, the surprising one was the letter from Paul Grewal, the CEO of the chief legal officer of Coinbase. And what I found surprising is, if this gets approved, it's kind of in competition with Coinbase, right? At the end of the day, even Coinbase will be looking to get more asset under management. And any other firm which is doing the same thing is in a competition. But it was heartening to see that when your competition is actually rooting for you, right? This is like, hey, let's do it for a larger good. So there was a letter from Coinbase to write in support for blah, 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 essentially supporting or essentially urging SEC to allow retail investors access to a spot Bitcoin ETP. We'll see what happens. I think this is probably the first time that SEC had invited comments from public, which is, we may consider it as a little positive sign than what it has been in the past, wherein SEC would just outright reject it and without inviting any comments from public. But in this case, I think this plus the other one, which is Bitwise, SEC has at least invited public to comment on this particular matter. They are not bound by what I have to write or what anyone have to write in the comments, but just that they have sought some public opinion might be a little better sign than in the past. But from digging deeper, all is not great. I mean, it's not all. I won't say the Coinbase is becoming virtuous in trying to help their competition. At the end of the day, there is also incentive involved with the investors of Coinbase, because Coinbase is also custodian of GBTC. More money getting into GBTC. If Coinbase gets to custody, they will also get increased fee through their institutional custodian product. And then DCG, Digital Currency Group, has a stake in both Coinbase, and they own Grayscale, right? So at some level, you have a common investor in both the companies. But at the end, I think this is at least nice to see Coinbase supporting GBTC's effort to convert, Grayscale's effort to convert GBTC into an ETF. I see another comment. Warren Buffett, Berkshire, has bought $1 billion worth of stock in Nubank. They were already invested in Nubank earlier, so probably they bought more. Oh yeah, I think the next sentence does talk about they had bought it. Nubank earlier at $500 million. So Nubank came into, at least on the US investing public limelight, because Berkshire Hathaway actually took a stake in Nubank. And then they recently got into an IPO in US. It's a pretty, I think we actually did the whole review of their S1 in one of our Saturday classes. So this bank is growing really, really fast. I don't want to get into the whole details of Nubank right here in this call, but it had one number that still sticks to my mind, and I recall from our discussion or analysis of Nubank a few weeks ago, is they have more online banking customer than, let's say, Bank of America has, which is surprising. They've grown like crazy I think that in Brazil. And Warren Buffett Berkshire Hathaway is pretty active in fintech space in Brazil. This is not the only investment that Warren Buffett had done. There are other companies, other fintech players also, in which Warren Buffett has invested in Brazil. So, but yeah, I mean, any name you attach to any company's name, if you attach Warren Buffett's name, it does get some credibility in the market. But I do know, just because that Warren Buffett has invested $1 billion worth of stock, and the Nubank has plans to go onto crypto. Let me just see, did they already on into crypto or has a plans to go to crypto? It kind of a missing little bit when we reviewed it. Hold on, let me just get the new bank and see what we had. Oh, we did in maybe somewhere in December we did this review. Okay, so it's been a few months to where they wanted to go. Company products, they have these platforms, they have the debit card, your credit cards, mobile payments, saving solution, personal accounts, business accounts, investing, then the borrowing solutions, buy now, pay later, insurance. Okay, I think at that point of a time, they did not have any plans for crypto, but maybe now they have plans to enter into crypto, because I saw the crypto Twitter lighting up with the news saying Warren Buffett is going to invest in Nubank, and Warren Buffett is now becoming pro crypto and all that stuff. But yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. Nubank is not heavily into crypto just yet. As of in their S1 filing, they didn't have any product on crypto. Maybe, I haven't looked at Nubank since then. Maybe in last 2-3 months, they do have a plan to get into crypto. And that is why the crypto Twitter has picked up this news. Yeah. But again, the recent news, we can talk all about what crypto Twitter does, what we talk about here, what retail investors talk about. But when it gets to the regulatory filing, that becomes real official record. So number of 13F SEC filings mentioning Bitcoin by quarter. So 2020, this the first quarter has far exceeded in terms of companies mentioning Bitcoin in their SEC filings. So this is no hearsay. This is not just an opinion by a spokesperson. This is the actual SEC filings. This is now an official record. So irrespective of what's happening in the crypto market, from a company's perspective, and especially the public companies, because they have to file 13F, from that perspective, there is a lot more reference to Bitcoin in SEC filings. So, and it'll be interesting to see, how many of them actually have referred to other monikers like maybe crypto assets, maybe Metaverse. I guess a lot more companies would have also talked about Metaverse or some form of some other variation of Metaverse. Right? But yeah, companies want to be ready with this. You can't, at the end of the day, you can't ignore it anymore. That's probably is a punchline. I don't know whether it's a bearish or bullish, but the fact of the matter is you can't ignore it. Companies can't ignore it, whether they like it or not like it, whether they see it their competition or whether they find some opportunities in it. They really have to look at it, and that's what they've been doing. Next, I thought there are a couple of interesting reports that came out from two big financial powerhouse that we know as of today. One is Fidelity, another one is JP Morgan. Right? JP Morgan is kind of a little surprising, right? If you go back and look at the history of JP Morgan, the CEO has been completely anti Bitcoin or anti-crypto, while the rest of the bank, while their divisions have been setting up trading desks on Bitcoin or have been helping their wealthy clients get exposure to Bitcoin. And now in February, in I think last few days, they also released a report for their institutional clients around the opportunities that exist in Metaverse and the role of these crypto tokens in the metaverse. Now, I don't know what to make out of this. This is where you'll see two different opinions coming out from two different sides of a mouth, right? It's the same JP Morgan, but completely two opposite viewpoints. When they'll express something, but they'll do something different. So focus on not what they say, but focus on what they do. So that's one report. And the other one came from Fidelity, which talks about Bitcoin is a digital gold. So let me know which one you wanted to dive deeper into. Is it more interest on the metaverse or want to look at Bitcoin as such?
I'd say the metaverse myself.
Okay, there we go. No other votes than metaverse it is. I haven't read, I think I was starting to read this digital gold. Didn't finish that, but let's get into opportunities in metaverse. Right. By the way, after berating all crypto projects, berating all crypto tokens, and poo-pooing any crypto investors, JP Morgan actually if I recall, is the first traditional financial powerhouse to buy and open a bank in metaverse. So JP Morgan actually bought a virtual land in, I don't know, it's a sandbox project or Decentraland. There are two virtual land projects that are pretty popular. I don't know in which one did they. Maybe we can just find out. Let's see, JP Morgan virtual land. Virtual lounge. Oh, it is in Decentraland. So irrespective of whatever their executives have to say in conferences, there's a lot of work which JP Morgan has been doing on the side, right? So they are already now into metaverse with their Onyx launch in Decentraland. You can't ignore it. I don't think any traditional media companies could ignore the emergence of this new economy. You like it or not, that's different. But this seems to be an exciting development this week. So here's the report which they put out, opportunities in metaverse and how businesses can actually explore the metaverse and navigate the hype versus reality. And there is a lot of hype. I think there is a lot of hype around whole NFTs and metaverse. Half of the projects will fail, some of them will succeed. But if you are completely out of it, then I mean, unless we are in it, unless we take the risk, we won't understand which ones will fail or which one will succeed. Anyway, so let's dive deeper into this report on metaverse, unless someone has something else. Okay, I see James John. Hey, James, congratulations. Notional Finance got featured in a podcast on Bankless. I have yet to listen to it though, but I saw that episode downloaded on my phone.
Oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, I actually, you know what? I actually talked about fixed rate lending.
Are you in that podcast?
No, I wasn't, but I did a separate knowledge session. I think it was recorded. So if you guys want to know how fixed rate lending and borrowing, how that actually works, that's a good.
Sure.
I thought it was a good presentation.
No, yeah, I'm definitely interested. If you have a recording, if you don't mind sharing it with me, I'll be interested to go and look at it. But I do have it on my, because I do listen to Bankless, and today I saw interview with Notional Finance and fixed rate lending. I'm like, okay, I know one person in this company. So like,
Right,
okay,
right. Yeah,
I
yeah,
need to
we're-
listen to this.
Yeah, the whole team is well, the home team is pretty much in Denver right now. I'm leaving tomorrow, so so we're all gonna be in Denver. So it's gonna be pretty wild. I think it's there's a lot of DeFi stuff going on right now. So
Yeah, there's a ETH. Is this for the ETH Denver?
yeah. So
Right?
there's that. So it's mainly like Ethereum, but there's also like there's also a lot of DeFi teams there to basically talk about DeFi stuff. And a funny thing is, I think Charles Hoskinson is also going to be there. So but there's not going to be any other. I don't think there's going to be any other like Cardano people. But yeah, I think he's
Yeah, I mean, Charles got a job cut out for him.
right.
Manoj asked, was it in Mana? Yes, it is in Mana. It's in Mana. That's a decentralized token. And maybe, I don't know what happened. Maybe after this news, did anything happen to that token? Okay, maybe a brief jump. This probably might have been triggered with the news of JP Morgan buying space in Decentraland. Right? And the idea would have been, hey, this is the first bank that's buying the space. There may be more who will follow it, right? But a pretty interesting idea around trying to combat, first of all, try to just ignore it and then combat. And now, hey, if you can't win, let's join hands. Oh, that's what I see. At least these traditional financial institutions have now come to realization. This is going to stay here. All right, so let's get into this report, opportunities in Metaverse. I haven't spent any time on Metaverse, at least, so it's a good reading for me as well. So elements of an, okay. I think I read maybe a few pages of it, but this sounds.
I would just make the comment, I was assuming this would be from perspective of us as individuals, investing in that or, understanding it as opposed to opportunities for big companies.
So here's my thought process. Only if there's an opportunities around making an adoption of it growing, only then in a long term, there'll be an opportunity in any of these Metaverse projects. Otherwise, it's all speculation. Today, Sandbox or Mana token probably can double, right? Just on the news of this. But if companies don't find much opportunities to make money on this and don't build tools or no, don't basically create or invest into a lot of these Metaverse-based offerings, eventually there won't be any adoption. So I am generally more interested in seeing what are institutional investors doing it, where are they building, where are they spending their money? Are they spending their money in building Metaverse, or do they find that this is where they need to be invested in? Then the adoption will grow, and eventually then the token price will grow. Right? If the www or World Wide Web, if it had been only stayed as a chat or instant messaging or exchanging information between the universities, we wouldn't have seen these great companies which are now the most valued companies across in the world. So I do want to look at, and that's what excites me to look at these institutions and see, will they be interested in coming in here? Because someone has to build, someone has to create this ecosystem from the ground up. The technology exists, but there's a lot of work to be done. Facebook is the only one who kind of have made their intentions very clear. Like it or hate it, because Facebook may want to build their own walled garden metaverse, but which none of us would like it. But the concept is great. We have one company behind that. What I think JP Morgan is trying to do is to look at a metaverse as a concept and then telling their institutions, investors, that there are opportunities in it. Yeah. So I'm going to look from that perspective. Is this going to grow big? If this is going to grow big, doesn't matter, the projects and the tokens, they'll take care of themselves. It's just like a stocks. If the business is going to grow big, the stock price will take care of itself. The elements of new digital age are converging at scale, which is good. The metaverse is the driving force. So what are some of the opportunities? Every year, $54 billion is spent on virtual goods, almost double the average amount spent buying music. So this is kind of a news. So the amount of money which is today spent on virtual goods, not really metaverse, but the virtual goods, which is we buy, in these games, we buy extra skins, better weapons in the games, and whatnot. All those in-game purchases. That's 54 billion. Approximately 60 billion messages are sent daily on Roblox. So transaction, social aspect, and creation. How many tools, etc., available on which you can actually create or add to this economy. So GDP for the Second Life was about 650 million 2021, with nearly 80 million paid to creators. So Second Life has been there for quite some time, and that's, I would say, a precursor of what now we want to call as a metaverse. Right? Own 41 billion NFT, currently have a market cap of 41 billion, and 200 strategic partnerships with Sandbox. So there are two virtual big provider of this virtual land. One is Sandbox, the another one is Decentraland. So it looks like on the Sandbox there are 200 companies who have tied up with Sandbox. So what is metaverse? It's a convergence of our physical and digital lives. So, and creating a unified virtual community where we can work, play, relax, transact, and socialize, all these things. There is no one virtual world, but many worlds which are taking shape to enable people to deepen and extend social interactions digitally. It is still early in its revolution. Let me just quickly skim through it rather than trying to read everything. Themes of what metaverse could be is still emerging. No doubt, this is a pretty new field and we have to acknowledge it. We don't know what eventually it will become. The canvas is yet to be painted. Right? Before diving deeper, it is important to lay the foundation between today's metaverse and the emerging metaverse characteristics, which is Web 3.0. Right? We have seen these terms used interchangeably. Web 3.0 world, metaverse, or Web 3.0 is, you build, create, and own economy. Web 2.0 is you just build it, but you don't, you basically give away your data, you don't own anything. So a little bit of comparison. Example of virtual worlds in Web 2.0, as we know today: Second Life, Roblox, Fortnite games, World of Warcraft, again, online games. Web 3.0 will become decentralized, Sandbox. I don't know, maybe this could be another two projects. I don't know what those are. Maybe some of them could be even decentralized games. Org structure, these are centrally owned by big companies. Roblox is a publicly listed company. Fortnite is a company not publicly listed though yet. Those are, and the decisions are based on increasing shareholder value. Web 3.0 is where we have seen a lot of talks saying 2022 could be a year of DAOs. 2020 was a year of institutional adoption. 2021 became year of your DeFis. 2022 could be year of DAOs, in which these native tokens are issued and allow the participants to become have a say in the governance. Right? Data storage, centralized, decentralized, platform format. Yeah, you can use almost same hardware could be used in both. Payments infrastructure, traditional payments, credit, debit cards. When you come to Web3, it's going to be crypto wallets. This is where those tokens will become more relevant. So if you are in Decentraland Metaverse, to transact in that, you may have to use Mana. I guess there will be services which will allow, even there are existing services which allow you to stake your tokens from other chains and then mint the corresponding amount of Mana tokens, those bridges. But those bridges are always susceptible to hacks. The most recent one we saw was around Solana, $310 million. That's how we celebrated the new year. Welcome to 2022 DeFi. We got $310 or $320 million hack that happened on Bridge. So there are companies which are working on projects to allow this transfer of value from one blockchain to another without the use of these intermediary bridges. Yet to be seen where those technologies land up. Digital asset ownership, of which now from talking about user interaction, leased within the platform where it is purchased. Facebook won't want me to go to, let's say, Google Plus or do something about that. Google Plus is dead anyway. Wrong example on Facebook, but let's talk about Apple, right? App Store is different and Android Play Store is different. In this one, owned through NFT tokens. And now there are projects that you could actually use the same NFT in multiple platforms. Portability locked within platform. It is transferable. Right now, it's transferable through bridges. Content creators, game studios, or developers, community, game studios and or developers. I think at least in this case on Roblox, I'm intended to say that even the community should be here. Activities, your socialization, multiplayer games, game streaming, competitive games, play to earn experiences, and same. You can do all these things even on Web 3.0. Identities, your in-platform avatar. This is very important. Self-sovereign and interoperable identity, which now I think over the past 1 or 2 years, now there's a realization setting in that there has to be a way of a self-sovereign identity. If you build your whole fan following on YouTube and YouTube D platforms, what can you do? All your years of effort in building that audience, in building that, your following has just been decimated by one action of YouTube or Twitter. Deplatforming. That's I see that's being talked about more and more in regular conversations. Recent discussions was around Joe Rogan's. Is Spotify gonna deplatform Joe Rogan or not? Payments, virtual currency, cryptocurrency, content revenues. I think this probably is negotiable. But today, Apple App Store takes 30% of every game purchased because they can. They are the only big player in the game. It's not an open ecosystem, so they can charge these exorbitant rates for the distribution. But I think overall, it's a decent comparison between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. Why Metaverse? Why now? This is the question, I think, which has been asked earlier also. The Sims or Second Life has been around for 20 years. What's changing? So now we are at an inflection point. Because everyone is now talking about Metaverse. Number two, why it's different is a number of new technologies have come together to enable this new vision of Metaverse now. Okay. Augmented reality and virtual reality headsets have become much cheaper, more powerful, increasing the user experience. So that's a big difference between what was on 20 years ago and what is available or what's going to be available now. There's a lot of a leap in the core technology behind to enable this. And now with Facebook spending another $10 billion, Microsoft looking to open source some of their projects around which game they actually talked about that they want to work on an open source for the Metaverse. Now there is a lot of money behind it, a lot of financial strength behind it, right? Apart from technology, a lot of say the development minds also behind that. Blockchain has enabled digital currencies and NFTs. Now we have a way to transact and own digital goods. Earlier, Second Life, we didn't have that. So those are some of the things that have now catapulted Metaverse into discussions, because now it seems, yes, it is possible to do this. I like this picture. It's a co-author, maybe author of this report, explores gallery in Decentraland. And from a social side, looks like from social perspective, development of more immersive virtual experiences is helping people to build communities based on shared values and to express themselves in more authentic ways. And of course, COVID-19 have forced, if not enabled, but forced most of us to become comfortable with interacting virtually. So the jump from IRL in real life to Metaverse, it won't be that huge, because now, after COVID-19, we have started living a big portion of life virtually anyway. Next, they talk about the economics in Metaverse. The economics of Metaverse or metanomics, there are opportunities in almost every market area. You have an online avatar, you want to change it, or if you're wearing something, you'll be able to buy limited edition digital branded clothing. No surprise, Tiffany owns a store in Metaverse. Plus, I think Gucci opened a store in Metaverse. Victoria's Secret had bought a land in, again, one of these projects. But eventually, we want to spend time, we want to wear the same brands that I wear in my real life. I would still want to have that brand, because at the end of the day, brand that you wear is basically talks about you. So I want the rest of the world to basically have the same opinion, or want to project the similar image of mine, even on the virtual world. And now with these whole NFTs, it's very easy to do a check whether you're buying a real NFT or is it a fake, etc. Right? So these big brands, they are opening shops in Metaverse, okay. Such as an art gallery, blah blah blah. So how has Metaverse evolved? Again, this coming from JP Morgan. So I see a question, how does it differ from eBay or Tmall? eBay or Tmall, they ship the goods to you. In this one, you basically buy it in the whatever that virtual world, and you use it on your avatar in the virtual world. Right? I agree, this is no different than what this eBay Tmall does to our physical world, but now we are talking about everything happening in Metaverse. So 2003, Second Life is released all the way. Now we're talking here, I think it starts coming in around Fortnite, when the Fortnite introduced your in-game purchases, right? Prior to that, most of the time you have to pay money to buy the game. And that's how most of these gaming companies used to make money. But Fortnite completely flipped the business model. They made it free for anyone to play the game. But if you want to, get a little more better weapon, you want to get a better looking clothing, you want to add some extra ability to flip or jump higher to your avatar, you got to do those in-game purchases. So Fortnite started that business model. Then 2020, Decentraland came in, Facebook changes name in 2021, and now Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard. That's their biggest acquisition to date. And in December, virtual land adjacent to Snoop Dogg Sandbox real estate sells for $450,000. Sometimes these numbers surprises me. I can't wrap my head around it, but having a land near Snoop Dogg's land could mean something. You never know. I think now Snoop Dogg just released after the Super Bowl. I think announced that he's releasing his music album as NFT. So for all purposes, Snoop Dogg is becoming very, really getting deep into this whole metaverse and crypto economy. Next, we're talking about the growth of ownership economy. Average price of parcel of virtual land doubled in 6 months window in 2021. It jumped from 6,000 in June to 12,000 by December across the 4 main Web3 metaverses. Now, could this be 2007 a bubble of real estate? Possible. I'm not denying that, because some of these exorbitant pricing are just mind-boggling for me. For example, almost $1 million. Right? In one land package was sold for almost $1 million. But sometimes it's difficult sitting now to imagine what could happen in next 10 years, 15 years. No one knew, even 20 years ago, whenever you would have bought home at that point of time, it would have always looked expensive. Gosh, it's already too high. It's already expensive. But if there's a utility, if there's an adoption, things will have value later on. From DeFi to DAO, something that we just talked about, in time, virtual real estate market could start services much like the physical world, including credit, mortgage, and rental agreements. And again, all these things happening within the metaverse itself. So there are opportunities for companies to start offering these services. Right? However, with the emergence of DeFi, collateralized lending primitives, and the composability of blockchain token-based digital assets, a next generation financing company could potentially leverage digital clothing as a collateral. Wow. So just the way as in real life, we can collateralize our assets. I don't know anyone would collateralize my clothing though. because that value is just in my eyes. But it's fascinating to actually read, saying maybe in a decentralized land, or sorry, in the metaverse, we will have similar functionalities. In fact, the financing company may not be a company at all, but it could be just a DAO. Another area where I think I need to dig deeper to even understand on the workings of DAO. This is something which I haven't spent much time on, how DAO works. James says, pawn shops, maybe if you have fancy clothes. The problem is I fancy my clothes. I don't know what the rest of the world thinks about it. It's a good one. We'll probably have pawn shops in Metaverse as well. A surge in market cap of tokens in major Metaverse platform after Facebook rebranding to Meta. Yeah, okay. So Somnium is another project that I had not looked at. Sandbox I was aware of. Decentraland I was aware of. Somnium. What the heck is that? Anyone heard of this one? This project, Somnium Space. Okay, looks similar to, or you can access Qs. They got a integration with OpenSea for NFT, Uniswap DEX, and Gemini Real Crypto Exchange. What else can I do? Let's look at explore the Somnium map. Oh wow, okay. Interesting. These might be those apartment buildings. I don't know what eventually will get built out here, but recently sold, recent parcels on sale, recently listed. Okay, what does it say? M-Land token ID there, sale price 12 ethers. Okay, okay, so now you can do the transaction through OpenSea. Yeah, this sounds like a sci-fi, and very interesting. Who are the land owners? Anyone ever explored this Somnium? I never heard of this before. Yeah. Nope, don't want to do that. Okay, and what is there? They got a builder, or there are builder tools.
Tired of fighting with Google.
Goes to their YouTube. Interesting. Something I think to get used to it is trying to explore these virtual worlds. Anyway, so looks like this is another one of these sandboxes or Decentraland. All DeFi protocols right now are pawn shops. Yeah, but they actually want a collateral of crypto assets. I guess probably there are some protocols. I've not been following the real actual usage of NFTs, but I don't know if there are protocols which allow you to collateralize your NFTs. And maybe there are, but for that to succeed, there have to be Oracle services which will get the right value of NFTs and all that. Or not really. Okay. But yeah, that would be real pawn shops, is NFTs, and you can collateralize your NFTs and then take a loan against that NFTs. So right now it's all the crypto assets. That's something which at least I'm aware of and I've been involved in. So work in the metaverse. All right, so we bought a parcel. Now what else can we do? Supply and demand dynamics are driving more people into the meta economy, which means development of new skills and generate new opportunities to make money. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I think 20 is too far, but even 10, 15 years ago, never knew that, kids will be able to make millions of dollars through YouTube. But now it is happening. And so surprised to see some of those, young men and women doing those unboxing of goods and generate, billions of dollars through that. In new use cases, things that we could have never thought of 10 years ago. I've broken a lot of boxes. I should have started those YouTubes, when I was a kid. And so people will have to develop and build the products that are consumed in virtual world. RTF Katie is a virtual shoe designer that has been recently acquired by Nike. See? So no wonder those the mention of Bitcoin has gone through the roof in SEC filings. These all the public companies that we know of are already moving ahead to remain relevant in metaverse or in crypto economy, right? Looks like some of these sneakers sold by $10,000 a pair. I don't know, maybe if you put on those sneakers, you can actually fly. That seems 10,000 seems to be too big. Some people will earn their livings providing services like the gig workers of a metaverse. In my real life, you can do your 9-to-5 job, and then maybe after that, or maybe in parallel, your digital avatar could be a gig worker in the metaverse. Multiple sources of income. Again, sounds very interesting to me for now. The reason is a concert held in Fortnite was seen by 45 million people and grossed around 20 million, including sale of merchandise. And those 45 million people might need some help as well. So that's where your gig workers will come in. It'll be interesting to see how marketing and advertising pans out, as it is potentially one of the biggest segments of the meta economy. Now, this is again on Sandbox. Some of these companies have already bought some of the parcels. Maybe they're already building their new offices in Sandbox. Who is to, say that we will always stay on Zoom to do our meetings? Maybe 5 years down the line, if I'm working for Nike or if I'm working for JP Morgan, maybe we'll have our meetings in JP Morgan's lounge in Decentraland rather than meeting here on Zoom. I don't think that as a very far-fetched idea. That's pretty much, we can do it now as well. Of course, there are some more tools which stuff like Facebook is building to make sure I can carry some of my physical world work that I'm doing into my digital world, into metaverse, finish the meeting, the notes that I've taken in my metaverse, when I come back to my real life, that's still there in my Google Doc. Once that's done, and there's already work happening on this, Facebook is already working on this one. Once that's done, maybe we'll meet each other on metaverse. Expanded opportunities across industries and across countries. What do they say? It's not just business to consumer environment that will benefit. It will provide massive opportunities for business to business enterprises. Okay. Something that we just talked about was meeting, but looks at a lot more stuff in this one. Take a manufacturer that is buying a new parts. The process involved receiving a physical brochure. That's what happened today. Or an email PDF with the pictures. In a metaverse, users could actually test the products in a virtual environment in low cost. build a digital twin of a factory, and then you could test how, say, if you're buying a turbine, will fit in that factory. One of the great possibilities, it will massively expand access to marketplace for consumers from other emerging and frontier economy. When it comes to internet or virtual economy, it's a great level playing field. I don't have to travel. I can stay wherever I am and still participate in that economy. Now workers in low-income countries may be able to get jobs in Western companies without having to emigrate. We are already seeing some parts of these through this not earn for the play to earn in play to earn area. From a corporate perspective, there are opportunities to massively scale. Instead of having stores in every city, a major retailer might build a global hub in a metaverse that will be able to serve millions of consumers at a time. And once you buy in metaverse, the actual shipment could just happen from warehouse to your physical home. But you get the whole experience of going and looking into the shop, maybe try out the stuff, maybe see how it appears on you in metaverse, wherein the constraint on the space will be less. Millions of customers can actually go, and once in a shop, once you buy it, then it's all logistics management behind the scene. You really don't need those fancy storefronts. You could just have big warehouses just to ship the goods to you. Exciting. Beyond retailers, gaming, sports, betting could also be turbocharged from cash to crypto. Okay, some company like Sightline Payments, something I want to take note of. I've never heard of that before, and that's sometimes these reports are give us more ideas about some other projects that probably I haven't heard of, like this new virtual land project that we just looked at. Now I want to go and look at Sightline Payments. What's that in, separately later on. But they are building infrastructure to support cashless digital gaming for live sports and casinos. Great. Now let's talk about navigating the hype versus reality. As sci-fi as it sounds, as much as Snoop Dogg buying a land in virtual space and adjacent parcels selling for $500,000, half of them could be hype as well. So let's look at navigating the hype versus reality. Looks like we're gonna look at these different categories. Technology perspective. Some key imperatives for the growth of metaverse are improved performance in avatar movement and environment rendering. That's where I'm becoming more and more bullish on companies like NVIDIA. Right? Huge. They'll have a huge play in this. Reduction of environment sharding. So all participants can interact with each other, live in the same location. Anyone have thoughts of what is this concept, environment sharding? I understand. Maybe removing the boundaries between in a digital world, instead of having a separate metaverses, just one. Maybe more capacity, reduction of local hardware requirement for complex interaction with 3D rendering, accessibility across devices. Yes, we need all this. So unless we have all these things, these are the basic stuff required for this vision to succeed. Interoperability of cross virtual world interactions. This is very true. Today we have Decentraland, Sandbox, Somnomics. There could be a few more projects down the line. So we'll have to have a way to move our identity. Otherwise, it'll become the same issue what we have today. My Twitter ID that doesn't work on a Facebook. and then I have to depend on intermediate Google to sign from a Google perspective, and Google deplatforms me, I'm done. So I want a self-sovereign, self-governed identity which is operable across different platforms. That's going to be a nirvana. Definition of standards for digital assets and how the value could be transferred, not just the digital assets, but the values could be transferred across different virtual worlds. Those fancy clothes, the fancy jacket I'm wearing, I want to wear it also in whether I'm in Sandbox or whether I'm in a Decentraland. And then expanded data analytics and discovery mechanism. So these all tech side stuff is required. Commercial side, interactions, integration with legacy traditional finance payment rails. Right? Eventually, when we have to eat, we still have to eat in the physical world. So whatever we earn, we still have to make sure either we start pricing the physical goods on the crypto assets, then I may not need this interaction, but until then we'll need this ramps to the legacy traditional financial payment systems. Single wallet user experience. Of course, right now there are multiple wallets across different blockchains. Solana has got Phantom, Ethereum-based blockchains have MetaMask. Let's say Cardano's have their own. So we need a single wallet user experience across virtual currencies, across virtual assets. Evolution of digital asset-backed financing, something that we just talked about. If I have an NFT, I can get a loan across on that NFT. Cross-border and cross-metaverse forex and liquidity solutions. So net looks like all the things that we can do in our physical real-life world eventually will be required in metaverse also. Metaverse could become as real as our real life. To think of it, sometimes it looks like scary. Why would someone want to do that? Why would someone want to spend hours staying in a metaverse and get detached from a physical world? Unfortunately, stuff is already happening. Never knew that we're spending so many hours in front of browsing or on internet rather than going out. But it is already happening. A third one is workforce of a future. Training new designers and developers in specialization in 3D modeling. Evolution of content creators and storytellers. Redeployment of event producers. Now, we all have event organizers, event producers, community managers, even on the metaverse. And then, of course, we need regulation, tax, accounting, social infrastructure. So what's your metaverse strategy? First of all, learn. This is what I want to do. Next is access. While metaverse will scale many industry verticals, evaluate if there are relevant opportunities for your business. So we can skip this. This is talking more around. Now, this is everything from here, right from beginning. That is one which is pretty interesting for me as an individual, as a retail investor. Now I can think a little more around why some of those NFT projects could continue to have value in metaverse. So the whole combination of NFT, VR, AR, and the advancements in the technology behind metaverse, that's a very potent combination. That's something which now I just cannot ignore it, saying, oh, it's all hype. Doesn't look like to be hype. It might take a few years, It may not happen like next year, which is what if I'm just buy the coin, I'm like, oh, I need to, it goes up, or if it falls down 50%, oh no, this is all crap. May not. That's where sometimes reading these reports at least help me, and hopefully will help you to get behind and understand what is actually happening in this. Right? So from that perspective, looks like at least this particular economy is here to stay. Whether we can get behind this or not depends on how much capacity do we have to go through the volatility. Internet was initial years, probably some of similar of these reports would have come out. And also there would have been more reports debunking why the internet is only, fashion for the month or flavor of the month, and why it will never be able to replace, let's say, fax machines or the telephones. But now things have happened. So any new technology will always be accompanied by the hype and the burst cycle. So right now, at least on the NFTs, we haven't seen a burst cycle yet. And I have a hard time in convincing myself that the NFTs hype will continue without bursting. It will happen. Now, when it will happen, I don't know. But at that point of a time, I just don't want to shut my eyes saying, oh, it was all crap. No, good projects will continue to succeed. And hopefully, so reports like this help me to understand, is there really some stuff behind this, or is it all exchanging JPEGs on blockchain? So I don't know. Let me know your thought. I find it, at least going through this, I learned a lot around Metaverse and why I had no idea that there are actually 200 corporates who have bought parcels in Metaverse. And I'm now thinking a scenario, if my company have an office in Metaverse, now depending on where I buy my parcel of land in Metaverse, can I show up late for a meeting saying, oh, I was actually stuck in a traffic in Metaverse? I don't know. Interesting things to think about. All right. Hopefully you find it useful. This is available. I think if you really want a copy of it, you can either just email it to me. I can send you the PDF, or you can just Google it. It's not paid for, so it is accessible in public. I want to do a little more reading later on. Google for opportunities Metaverse, a report by JP Morgan. Okay. But we see more and more these the traditional financial companies providing these research reports, again, to their wealthy business clients or to their wealthy institution, wealthy individual investors. Right? So it means, irrespective of whatever they say, they are getting into this. Cool. James, a little bit of hype is good. Hype equal to capital plus builders. Yeah, so someone had asked me why, those who are involved in Bitcoin sound little crazy. And my response to that was, any new technology, if it has to succeed, it needs some of those crazy backers who are just maxis. I'm not one of them. I want to be rational, but without having those maxis as a starting point, no new technology will ever scale. Incumbents will always be looking for an opportunity as to kill any new technology that is trying to threaten them. So if we can pick up anything, even when Ford car would have come out, and I don't know who coded it, but there were discussions and regulations around, maybe instead of putting a motor in front of it, we need to put a horse in front of it. Incumbents always feel threatened. So we have to have some people behind it who are hyping it, who are zealots behind it, who are maxis for any new technology to succeed. obviously, and that's why it always go through the whole hype cycle, burst, then adoption, and then it take a few years for it to realize. So it's all good. Oh, idea is we need to be aware of, maybe learn, read to be able to distinguish between what's hype, what's reality. Before this report, yeah, I kind of knew about metaverse, people are buying on virtual land, but I did not know in terms of the size of economy or the transactions or what is happening in that. So till date, for me, everything was hype. Okay, now I see a little bit of a reality in this, but still a long way to go. We are nowhere close to learning any, everything about this. It is just getting started, and that makes it a lot more exciting. Cool. So that was around Metaverse and a report from JP Morgan. So there's another one. Maybe either we read, we'll actually today, I think we just ran out of time, which is around Fidelity digital asset, again, part of Fidelity group. This is also an interesting one. If you are more interested in knowing about a Bitcoin and what Fidelity digital assets have to say about that. Cool. Anything else? Gosh, I spoke a lot. Zifty, so to live and thrive in the virtual world, we almost have to neglect our physical bodies. So over time, our body will decay faster. It's already been depicted in sci-fi movies, thought-provoking. What do you think? I'm a little scared of that. What I'm scared of is the whole scenario, Zifty, that we see in Matrix, wherein as a physical body, we are just lying in a vegetative state and providing, in Matrix, it was providing energy to run that Matrix computer. In this case, we will be providing our attention, our time to virtual world. But we do some form of it already. I mean, I don't like playing online video games for hours. That's not me, but that doesn't mean that the economy is not growing. So that's why I don't want to ignore this one. Whether I will be in it, probably not. But will I invest in the companies which want to take, are doing work in this? Probably yes, right? I will invest in casino companies even though I don't gamble. So, but it is, I'm a little scared to think about that world when we all are just becoming a source of revenue or energy, not taking care of bodies, but just living in a metaverse. I mean, even today, I would say, I don't know what's their generation called, the latest generation, Gen Y, Gen Z. They are more comfortable in talking to their companions in a virtual world than in real life physical interactions. Right? That pains me. That world will move where it will move. I can't control it. So yes, it is thought-provoking. It's not for me, but I don't have too many decades left on this Mother Earth. So we'll see what happens. But just that.
Yeah, it's always, I feel like it's always looking forward, you're a little scared, right? It's just like, I'm pretty sure like 500 years ago, like people wouldn't be able to envision like what life is like today, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I mean, to them, this kind of stuff would be like crazy, unthinkable, right? And sitting in front of a computer and right. So yeah, I think like for us, it's difficult to understand how that's gonna be even possible. But I think yeah, in 500 years, I mean, if people go like 100% virtual, that's fine, right? Then the society will just function in that
society
fashion.
will
Right?
adjust. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll function. Yeah.
Yeah. It will function. I mean, it's the same case. Now you brought it up. I'm reminded when I started working, and because I started working in India, my grandpa asked me, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work on a computer." He's like, it was very difficult for me to explain him that I actually work for some company, like sitting in front of a machine all day and you do this kind of work. He just couldn't wrap his head around that, companies run the businesses just through that. But pretty common. Now everyone understands, right? So I guess in 50, 100 years, society will adapt to it. They'll understand it. May not be for me, but I won't be around at that point of time. Yeah, Zifty, yep. So I don't think this probably won't be for me. And that is why I have, so till now I've never done anything, haven't bought any virtual parts or any NFTs, but looks like this economy will grow. Again, this is looking into the future. May not happen five years or 10 years, but future down the line. We just need our brain. I think if the Neuralink project succeeds, we probably may not need our brain. We'll just have a chip. Elon is going to put chip in our heads. Yeah, that whole scenario of sci-fi scenario looks too dangerous. James, that tech is probably a few hundred years away. Yeah, he's already did some experimentation of that's already ongoing on animals, right? But I agree, long way to go before humans come into picture. I hope so. Cool. All right. I think good discussion. Opened my eyes to what's happening on Metaverse, and real companies are looking at it. I think next topic, at least whenever I get time, want to explore is DAO. That is, I don't know, call it a hype cycle or call it a virtual cycle, but now every societal or kind of a project or on a virtual dotting projects are just making DAO. Right? We heard about Constitution DAO, raised 40 million, and I think recently there's another DAO created, was Free Julian Assange DAO. I don't know the exact name, but it is related to provide a legal help for Julian Assange, who is locked up in embassy. Whose embassy it is? I forgot it's an embassy in London. Because if he comes out of that embassy, then UK government will extradite him to US. So there's a DAO which is raised money to protect, for bearing the legal expenses to fight Julian DAO, not dancing. Okay, so he's also $50 million. Yeah, sometimes I think some of these will end up in a bad shape. So I think they did some, I haven't read through it, but yeah, people are selling some NFTs in the name of freeing Julian Assange, and they raised what, $50 million? I don't know, it actually came from Julian Assange. But anyway, this is one movement, the DAO, which probably will go through its hype and the bust cycle, but something that we cannot ignore. Oh, there was another one which called Free Ross DAO. See, probably there's something which will be coming for Edward Snowden also. Yeah, I have to dig deeper into understand all this, how this DAOs, etc. was. What's the structure? What's the legal structure? How do you protect yourself? And right now it's wild west. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, let's call it a stay right here. Any more questions? Let me just